room that's probably extremely good company to have this kind of discussion anyway. But I was talking to one of my buddies who just, this was actually just yesterday, he had a brain tumor resected. Now, fortunately, this guy, one of my best friends from growing up, and fortunately the brain tumor is benign. And this guy, he's a very, 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 he's a good Christian. He's a great guy. He's not the kind of person that's looking to break the law. But I was asking him, I said, just tell me something though. If you were in hospice and you've had as much morphine as the doctor's willing to actually prescribe to you, and you're just writhing in pain, and the end is just so close, how messed up is it that those people don't have access? Those people, they don't have the choice to be able to go and smoke and or consume in any way, shape, or form. But yet, pretty much anybody in high school or college or anybody who's got probably more than 5 friends is able to get their hands on it if they really, really want to. And I think that's sad. So anyways, so I feel very strongly that we need to advocate for all of this. With that, though, I really want to kind of open it more up to just various questions or commentary. I really didn't want to I didn't want to come and bore everybody with a bunch of just scientific jargon that doesn't really make all that much sense. What's up?
So I have bad teeth. Okay? I got bad teeth. And so at various times in my life, I've had really, really bad tooth aches. And I smoke pot, but it like made it worse. I mean, is that just like me? Or, I mean, any like it help with headaches, help with the other kind of pain.
So the question here is a gentleman who is saying he's got very bad dental pain, very bad tooth pain, and he's tried smoking cannabis and it's made his pain worse. I think this is actually a very good example, though, to be very blunt about it, about the fact that it doesn't help everybody. Now, there is some information that, and I'm sure a lot of y'all have probably seen, about the entourage effect. You hear about how different strains can do different things. I always liken it to the concept of 88 keys on a piano, and you could have like my 3-year-old just banging on the keys, and it sounds miserable, albeit cute because she's my daughter and I'm being recorded. But then you've got Beethoven that's playing some beautiful piece on the piano. That's the entourage effect. That's the fact that one strain's going to make somebody very anxious, one strain's going to make somebody hungrier, one strain's going to help with nerve pain, one strain's going to help better with seizures, one strain's going to help better with pain. But it exemplifies perfectly, though. It's not the right thing for everybody. And this is a reason that medicine, Eastern medicine and Western medicine combined, they both have their place, but need to always be considered. Frankly, one of the first places that I generally go to with almost every type of pain is trying an anti-inflammatory. And I can't officially give you medical advice here because I'm not your doctor and I had a margarita tonight. But so simple things like that can be quite effective, though. Let's see. I think you had your hand up a moment ago like that, except now you don't want to. Smart. Bear, the sword swallower right here. This guy's amazing. He can ride a unicycle and swallow a sword all simultaneously. Oh, I'm sorry. Say that again.
How THC intolerance breaks work medically. Can you kind of explain that from your knowledge?
Intolerance break. I hate to say I'm not 100% sure of the specific term, but
If you smoke marijuana consistently,
okay.
everybody tells me you eventually need to take a tolerance break.
Oh, okay. That's a great question. Okay, so the question, the initial verbiage of the question was how THC intolerance breaks, and that was now that he explains it, I think it actually does make sense. But so tolerance, the way that I would actually probably explain this is I'm going to use caffeine as the example, though. So the idea behind it that Bear was mentioning is the concept that if one were to use cannabis on a regular basis, that at some point it might actually stop working or not work as well as it used to. And the idea behind why is it that you should stop using for a little while, followed by resumption of using in this theoretical world where somebody's doing so legally, that is. So the idea behind so tolerance, and quite frankly, you see this with caffeine, you see it with alcohol, you see it with opioid medication, you see it with pretty much everything. And the easy way to really look at it basically is as somebody has something in their system, a drug, a medication, and again, caffeine is the best way that I think most people can sort of relate to, your body actually develops an increased number of nerve endings to counteract whatever that product is that's actually being used. So for somebody that's ever drank caffeine, if I were to give my 9-year-old daughter a coffee, she's going to be bouncing off the walls even more than she already is. But if somebody gets to that point where they're drinking a cup of coffee in the morning, and then that doesn't really give them the peak of energy that they're wanting, then they bump that up to a cup of coffee twice a day, then 3 times a day, then 4 times a day. Next thing they know, they turn it into Red Bull every 4 hours, then 2 Red Bulls every 4 hours. At some point, and most of us have been there, I sure as heck have been there plenty of times. At some point, you get to this point where the caffeine ain't giving you any more energy. But God forbid you miss that caffeine. You don't have that Red Bull? Holy crap, you're just like down for the count. That's tolerance. That's the body basically saying, this isn't normal. I'm not supposed to have all of this extra energy. So I'm going to build up extra nerve endings to this. So it's going to take more to be able to still get that same effect. But at some point, you have so many nerve endings to all of this that it really doesn't do anything anymore. It's called upregulation. So the body upregulates the nerves basically to be able to make it so something stops having the same effect. And it's kind of really almost a safety mechanism in the body to be able to make it so that you don't essentially get overly poisoned. It's a coping mechanism, because if you think about it, most of the medications that we take, technically speaking, they're toxins. They're poisons to the body. They're doing things that our body doesn't naturally do. But then when you get away from that, and the same thing happens actually with opioids, which quite frankly I think is a very important thing to actually mention, as you guys hear and see that people get on stronger and stronger doses of pain medication because it stops working. And at some point, people actually sometimes get on so much pain medication that they start getting the opposite effect, because basically all of the nerve endings are actually so built up that they've got this hyperactivity to pain. Every bit of pain is amplified because they have so many more nerve endings to pain. And next thing you know, you actually get them on less and less and less pain medication. If anybody in here is on any kind of opioid, then I'm not asking you to raise your hand, but if anybody is, try taking less and see what happens. And I can tell you from my own practice, because we, especially as things have really become so much more of a big deal with the opioid epidemic, we've really been putting a strong push. And in some case, I hate to say even forcefully, but to some degree, the people that are really having trouble, and sometimes you just know they're not moving in the right direction. We really do see, I got a lot of people that they're on a quarter of the dose that they used to be on, and their pain is 10 times less than it used to be. So, but anyway, that's the tolerance concept, and there really is a very rational basis in terms of trying to stay away from something to be able to basically build back up the capability of responding to such a therapy. Did that answer your question? I hope it did. Yeah, it did. Thank you. Awesome. Yes, ma'am. I would certainly believe so. It's really just kind of how the body ultimately works. I mean, and you see it with so many different things. I mean, it's like people can eat a whole lot more food before they get before they're full, because their body gets used to eating. Although that's not necessarily as much a matter of receptors as other factors too. But it could be many things. What else we got? Well, yes, sir. Okay, yeah, so definitely a question that's worth addressing. So the question, this was from a gentleman who was saying he had cancer, and his doctors were putting him in a position where basically cannabis was working well to be able to actually control many of his symptoms. However, because of the fact that he tested positive for THC, he was forced to be weaned off of all of his opioid medication. The choice, either you take the pain medication or you use cannabis. And I'm going to be blunt about this. This is one of the big reasons that I have come out and so publicly advocated for the legalization of cannabis. Because the problem about this, and it's a very, very, very sincere and quite frankly personal, and I say personal not because I personally experience it, but I take the care of all my patients very personally. I really truly do. They're human beings. You're a human being. Everybody is. I think most people are. Anyway, except for the let's see, was it the Samantha doll from the New Jersey Shore reunion? I didn't. Never mind. It was not human. Anyway, but it's a predicament. When you really look at the science behind it, and you know that cannabis doesn't alter breathing, the biggest risk that people have when it comes to opioids comes down to respiratory depression. That's the reason people die of overdoses of pain medication. They stop breathing. They just don't wake up in the morning, or they take too much because they're just hurting a little bit more. They figure out it's one patch. What if I just use two? But that patch might actually be 400 morphine equivalents, and next thing you know, they're dead. So, but the predicament about that though is, if you look at the concept of the fact that people can use cannabis in states where it's legal, once again, as an adjunct medication to be able to help them to be able to not use as much opioid pain medication, it's a much safer alternative. And there's very little question about that amongst the people that actually pay attention and look at the data. But unfortunately, in the state of Texas and many of the other states that still haven't actually passed cannabis laws, this remains a predicament, and it's something that I'm working personally to try to change, because it should change. And at the same time, I'll also tell you though, because of at this point still the disconnect between the federal and the state laws, even in the states where it's legalized, I know of some pain doctors in states where it's legal, because I have conversations with people. Almost every doctor I know has been a conversation about marijuana, because everybody loves talking about it, but most people are scared to talk publicly about it. But in the states, though, where it's legal, I know some doctors that have said, I make my patients choose. And I know other doctors I've spoken with that said, no, I don't care. And in fact, one of the states with one of the doctors I know used to make his patients choose, and now he doesn't care. Now he says they do whatever they want, because over time, I think that people start to actually recognize that. But again, when there's no real great accepted literature, it's very difficult for doctors to be able to back up what they do, because we all worry about our own liability, and nobody wants to get in trouble with the board. So unfortunately, it's people like you that end up stuck in the middle, and it's not fair. It's truly not fair. What else? Any other thoughts? Or one more. Anybody back there? I can't see anybody back there, so it made it easier to go there and over here. Oh, what's up? What do we got over here? Here, I'll give you the microphone.
Do you have any patients that have FMS that it works for?
FMS. Hey, hold on. Clarify FMS for the audience here.
Fibromyalgia syndrome.
There we go. Fibromyalgia syndrome. So fibro is, first and foremost, for anybody whoever hears and talks about fibromyalgia, it is a very legitimate diagnosis. There's a lot of people that talk about fibromyalgia not being real, and I can tell you it's absolutely is the case. It's something that frequently does get overdiagnosed, and one of the biggest things for anybody who is diagnosed with fibro is to also make absolutely sure that there's not some other potential cause of the issues. Because a lot of times when people can't figure out what's wrong with somebody, they get thrown into the bucket of, you know what, it's fibromyalgia. And as soon as the problem gets worse, it's how your fibro must be acting up. And you do get a number of patients actually that you get further workups of certain things, and all of a sudden you realize they've actually got some severe spinal compression in their neck that's causing all their symptoms throughout their body. But anyway, with respect to the question about fibro specifically, quite frankly, just as I would say with pretty much almost any other pain, it's because there's not necessarily going to be a prospective study that's specific to that diagnosis. Frankly, going somewhere where it's legal and trying different strains, very likely somebody who's got fibro would be able to find some sort of strain that might be able to very much help them. Again, I can't say definitively yes, FMS has all these indications. I would be lying if I said that I have an absolute yes or no answer to that question. But that's unfortunately what you're going to find with almost everything when it comes down to cannabis. You find some studies that are almost all looking back in the past to be able to say that something helps, and studies that really don't really show all that much. But then you also find studies that show fantastic results, and it's almost all based on this retrospective data. But when you got something that's relatively safe to try, if it's legal, it's something that may be worth one's while. It could certainly be a safer option than so many alternatives. So, but I'm sorry that I don't really have a good definitive answer for you. I guess that's it. So, well, thank you all very, very much. I really appreciate it. It's been interesting looking at Blinding Lights.
We appreciate you coming out and taking all of our questions. I bet you're going to get rushed at the end of tonight. People being like, oh, wait, I had another question. What's that? Oh, no, but that's a pretty earring someone lost. Look, he's got good eyes, too, you guys. Well, thank you so much. And I learned actually a little bit more about the why the tolerance issue some people have. Like, that was very educational for me, so thank you for that. I also want to talk a little bit about events really quick before we finish up for the evening. I wanted to let you know over the last month we've had some really great events going on having to do with seniors and veterans. Up in Sun City, we had another really great event. Sun City, if you're not familiar, is a senior living community, and it is the second largest in this country, I want to say. It's like 10,000 seniors, and we had them come and learn a little bit about veterans and PTSD therapy, and it was really great. And then David Bass, who spoke there over Memorial Day weekend, also went up to DFW, and he spoke at an event at a Legion. I'm forgetting, it's an American Legion Hall, I think, and they had a really wonderful event there. So we were super proud that the outreach is continuing to be going on during the interim. These are the times when these conversations need to be had. I know that we've all talked a lot about the election cycle leading up to the legislative session, so I want to give you a brief update on that as well. If you're a delegate for the state conventions, there are cannabis things going on for both the Republicans and the Democrats. If you're going to be at the Republican state convention on Saturday the 16th at 8 a.m., there's going to be a pancake breakfast for everyone, and it is for all the delegates to come and talk and learn a little bit about cannabis and learn a little bit about the planks that are going to be addressed, because they will likely be improving or working to improve the platform plank they already have. If you didn't know, for the first time last session that they were doing this, they added a plank actually saying that the Texas Compassionate Use Program needs to be made more inclusive. So there are a lot of people working to not only keep that plank, but improve it and make it better. So we're super happy that they can have pancakes and cannabis conversation. And then at the Democratic State Convention, we're going to be having on Friday the 21st from 1 to 2 o'clock, we're going to have the Texas Cannabis Caucus, and that's where we will have people caucusing on the issue of cannabis. There will also be planks that are being addressed on the Democratic platform. You know, they have quite a few different platform planks about cannabis, but it's always good to make sure that you cultivate it and make sure you keep it really nice and tight. We're going to have Representative Lucio III speaking. We're also going to have Christy Zartler. She's a registered nurse, and she's also the caregiver of Kara Zartler. Some of you may know she is a child who has, or well, I guess she's not a child anymore, she's an adult now, but she has self-injurious autism. And they advocate for her, and that's her mother is her caregiver. And additionally, we'll be having Judge John Delaney. He'll be talking about the need to decriminalize. He's been a judge for decades, and before that, he was a Navy veteran. And we are working to secure one more legislator, so we will have one more to-be-announced person that'll be participating. So anybody who's in Dallas on the 21st in the afternoon, come and join us. It's going to be a really interesting conversation. And then we'll be back here for our July open meeting at the Flamingo, first Wednesday of every month. No, wait, stop. I said that wrong, because guess what? It's 4th of July, and we're not going to be here. It's going to be on July 7th. Woo! I almost messed y'all up real bad with that. Sorry about that. So July 11th, everybody. It's going to actually be the one-off this time. Sorry to be confusing. And then also in August, there is going to be a really big conference going on at the Sheridan that the coalition we're a part of, Texans for Responsible Marijuana Policy, are going to be putting on. It's going to have a Friday night reception with live music. And then there will be panels and breakouts all day on Saturday, ending with a nice reception dinner. And on Sunday, we'll have a half day, and then we'll take a tour of the Capitol with whoever would like to join us. So that's on August 10th, 11th, and 12th. And if you can join us, I will be there Saturday morning on one of the panels. I'd be very happy to see you guys. And that's all I got. How about we say thank you, Flamingo? All right, guys. Thank you for coming, and we will see you on July 11th.